Question number 1, Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister and asks, does he stand by his comment that, quote, no one's arguing that we're not working as fast as we possibly can, end quote, to cut ACC levies, given ACC, the Ministry of Business Innovation and Employment, Treasury, the Employers and Manufacturers Association and Infometrics are among those recommending bigger cuts?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I stand by my full statement in the interview, which included, so we've cut over $1 billion in levies so far and we're on track to cut more. We did tidy up the mess we inherited from Labor, that was certainly true. But if you look at it in the early days, we were first in government. ACC wanted to massively increase their levies. They wanted to take them through the roof, and as the Cabinet we said, well, no, I don't think that makes sense. So there's often a differential between what ACC think and what we can afford.
That's right, yeah.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Given it's affordable and it's what ACC wants, why not cut levies by $350 million a year now rather than vague promises to cut them in the future with no time frame?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the government receives a recommendation on levy increases or reductions from ACC and then makes a decision based on what it thinks is appropriate. In fact, actually, it's not, well, actually, yes, it is wrong sometimes. So just to give you an example, in 2010-11, ACC wanted to increase levies by $1.137 billion more than what the Cabinet approved. In 2011-12, it wanted to increase them by $165 million more. In fact, if you look at the time that we've been in office, ACC have wanted to increase levies by $1.302 billion more than the Cabinet approved, and it's reduced them by $673 million less. Actually, the Cabinet does use discretion, and thank goodness it does.
Order. 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 Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Is he aware that his overcharging of ACC levies will see ACC add hundreds of millions of dollars a year to reserves that are already well in excess of what it needs? And why shouldn't that money stay with businesses and workers instead?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I don't think that's right. The government has cut $1 billion from ACC levies so far. It has a $500 million cut planned. We take the best advice and information that we can and assess things. But Mr. Speaker, while I wouldn't want to get ahead of the next levy setting process, indications are that the overall liability might in fact increase slightly over last year. And in fact, the Cabinet being slightly more prudent about its actions will prove to be the right one.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Given that his previous ACC minister said ACC's call to cut levies was ignored, quotes, because we need to get to surplus, end quotes, why is it government policy to use ACC levies, which are meant for helping injured Kiwis, to fill the hole in his budget?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, it's not. It's one of the factors that we know flows through to the OBGOL, just one of many, but the Cabinet makes a decision largely based on what it thinks is affordable and trying to smooth things out. As I said earlier, ACC wanted to increase those levies in 1 year alone by $1.137 billion more than what the Cabinet approved. The reality is the member can't have it both ways. He can't say on the one hand he doesn't want levies to go up when that's what ACC recommends, and he does want levies to go down faster when that's what ACC recommends. Either he's a slave to them or he's not.
Supplementary question, Tim McIndoe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What reports has the Prime Minister received calling for the government of the time to ignore the ACC Board's recommendations on ACC levies?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, fascinatingly enough, I've seen a report from October 2009 arguing strongly that the government should utterly reject the ACC Board levy recommendations. Those comments came in a media release issued by the then EPMU National Secretary, Mr. Andrew Little, which shows you can't reject the Board's recommendations 1 year and apparently be a slave to their recommendations another.
Order. 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 Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Coming to 2015, why does he think massaging Why does he think massaging the government's books is more important than the businesses that will see lower profits, the workers who will see lower wages, and the 700 people who will be out of a job because of his ACC rort?
That's right. Mr. Speaker,
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
This is a government that is working alongside business and New Zealanders to produce a strong economy, strong growth, strong SME sector, all reflected in the fact that our country is growing and doing well. It makes sense actually for the government to make sure it's sensible about ACC levies so that we're not driving them up massively one year and cutting them by more than we can afford the next year and having to raise them again. The member may be aware that if one looks at the discount rate and what's happening to it in New Zealand, what that might mean to the earnings of ACC and what that might mean to the liability, and actually Mr Parker knows exactly what I'm talking about. Let's wait and see what the next recommendation from ACC is.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Isn't it time for him to be straight with Kiwis? He's overcharging ACC levies, he knows it, business knows it, workers know it, and he could stop it by ending the rip-off right now.
Mr Speaker.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, if the member wants anyone to be straight, maybe the member should be straight and admit that his high horse in Northland went lame and it's now tripping over the white flag of surrender that's obviously happening up there. Falling off a high horse in Northland can force ACC levies up. I'm fearful a new charge is coming.
Order. Order.